today with Robert Bob Buttons. And I asked him earlier, it doesn't matter what I call him, he says, just don't call me late for lunch. That's all he said.
That's
So,
it.
congratulations. You know, you are definitely an Arizona drag racing legend. You've been racing for a lot of your racing career spanned a lot of years. You know, a lot of people, made a lot of people smile, put a lot of people on the trailer over the years, and made you smile even more.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, we start off, where are you from?
Originally, I was born in Olean, New York. Lived in Franklinville, I don't know, till 60 or 64, I guess we moved out here, and I've been here ever since.
So you got drug out here with the family?
My mom and dad got divorced, and my mom and me and my brother David moved out here with her, and my oldest brother stayed back there.
So what age were you when you moved out here?
You know what, Chris, I don't know, probably around 12, I'm guessing.
Okay, so you got to go through high school out here and, you
Yep.
know, got assimilated as a kid out here.
Yep.
So what was your first interest that you think, I'm gonna be a car guy? What got your attention?
Well, you know, I lived real close. We lived on 32nd Street in like Moreland, and I had some good friends as young kids. I had a good friend named Keith Barone, and his brother Larry had a 57 Chevy, and I was, Keith was a few years older than I was, and we just became good friends, and we'd end up going over and working on Larry's car all the time, you know, and he ended up, this must have been, you know, I never can remember what year it was, but it was probably, I want to say early 60s, someplace in there. When did the 327, when did Chevy bring out the 327?
Well, I think it was, if you remember the movie, My Cousin Vinny, when she's on the stand, wasn't it 64? 1963 or 64?
Yeah, because I think that the reason I asked that is because Larry bought one of these brand new 327s and we ended up putting it in this 57 Chevy. And of course, he had the Muncie 4-speed and all that stuff, and we'd go out to Beeline, and not all the time, but you know, several times, and it was, you know, it ran like low 13s or something like that. But that was really my first, you know, involvement was with Keith and his brother, and we just had a lot of fun doing that, you know. So that was really that's what really got me going, you know. And then I had we went out to Beeline, and I don't even think I was 16 years old. There was another friend of mine that was much older than I was. We ended up getting like a I think it was a 64 Studebaker with the R4 that had the turbocharger on it. I don't remember. Anyway, it was pretty fast for that.
It was like a Hawk type of...
No, it was the boxy.
But it was the Hawk type engine with
yes,
the... Okay.
Yeah. It ran like 1420s or something like that, but we just had a good time with it, you know. And that was really my first race car. We were kind of in partners.
What,
one of those things.
Did you go down, was the first time you drove?
Because I didn't have my license then.
Oh.
So, you know,
Yeah.
so.
You were bit.
I was, yeah. So, and we just had a lot of fun. I mean, we worked on the car every day, every night, you know, you just had a lot of fun in that car.
Where'd you go to high school?
Phoenix Union.
Okay.
So then I didn't make it very far. Had an argument with somebody and one of the teachers, and they decided I shouldn't be in there anymore. So that's what my life started right then and there. So, but I was surrounded by a lot of great people, Chris, as you may or may not know. But you know, John Loper lived right down up the road from me, you know, and he was on, I can't remember, he was off 32nd Street, and I can't remember where it was at, but you know, there were so many people that were instrumental in my, you know, upbringing. You know, I wish I could claim, you know, my own claim to fame was myself, but no, it was.
Well, don't you find that usually even Elon Musk had somebody probably open the door for him?
Oh, absolutely. Someplace down the road.
You know, somebody's that opened the door, somebody inspired him.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And that's really kind of the people you meet along the way that make the big difference in your life.
Absolutely.
So your first driver that you own? when you could drive?
I had an old ratty '56 Chevrolet with a tilt front end and a 396 and a 4-speed that I, again, raced down on Central Avenue, and
Oh, no.
who would have believed I'm on
Yeah.
Bell and those kind of places, who would ever thought that, But, yeah, we had a lot of.
Back in the days of the great, like, what was it, Scott Clark, and the
Yeah, let me just say this, we had a lot of fun back
there were a lot of fast cars that would show up down there.
A lot of fast cars.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the guy that had the Mustang with the 427 in it, but it's just like way above my grade back then. I just
Yeah.
watched you guys, and
Yeah.
every once in a while they'd be parked at Apco, the auto parts store down there.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's where they seemed like they mashed up and split and disappeared to go do something.
Yeah.
And it was pretty spectacular
We had,
times.
we had a lot of time, and we put a lot of miles, I say miles, on Central Avenue too,
Yeah.
so, we just had a great time, so, yes.
The one thing I always appreciated, I could never understand why they didn't want people to cruise Central, because by cruising Central, they probably had most of the troublemakers in one place.
Yeah, there you go. They could've
Instead of being
rounded
all
us
over the
out.
city, they were like all right here.
But the honest to God truth was, they weren't troublemakers.
No, they weren't.
We were just, just people having fun, and it's not like it is now, that people they get hurt today, but we actually went to neighborhoods, and not that that was the right thing to do, and I'm not condoning that. But we did a lot of racing there, we had a lot of fun, and in fact, we had times when the cops would be there, and they wouldn't bother you. Yeah, they were just there to watch, you know what I
Right.
mean? And they'd come over and talk to you every so often, say, hey, maybe you should, your car's pretty fast, you ought to, maybe tone it down just a little bit, But we never had any problems like that, so.
Yeah, those were definitely good times.
Oh, yeah, real good times.
So you had a student baker you were involved with.
Yeah.
When did you build? What was your first car that you really said, okay, this is the?
Well, the first one that I can remember, and again, I had a car, it was a '66 Chevy 4-door, it was called the Home Wrecker. On the side of it that it transformed many times through the years, that had a 292 Chevy in it, a 283, one of those things with the 4-speed, then ended up getting the 292, and I got a Doug Nash 5-speed in it, and it just, I gotta tell you this story. Nobody mentioned Jim Gallatin, and he was one of my very closest friends. And Bud Pickens. We'd race at Beeline, like Saturday nights or something like that, and thing would be going 10 grand, and I'd blow a rod out or something would happen. So I'd go home, and my kids, I lived in Payson at the time. All my kids that night would get it off the trailer, pull it in the back, and usually pull the motor out, excuse me. And then I'd pull it apart, and then every Wednesday, I'd come down to Phoenix to pick parts up, because I had an electrical business up in Payson. So I'd call up Jim. I said, "Hey Jim, I need something fixed on my car. Usually it's a crankshaft or something." Every Wednesday, because Jim used to work at a diesel rebuilding. You remember what industrial something or
Yes,
other?
yeah.
And we'd go over there, and there'd been many nights he'd worked to midnight just fixing my block or rods or whatever, my heads or whatever, And next week we'd be out racing again, So, but that's the kind of people you deal with. Bud Pickens, same way. Bud's the same thing. So.
Yeah, I both were great. Both were awesome people. Jim's no longer with us, but Pickens is another one that's gone. But they were they opened doors for people. They brought a lot of people out to start racing and do things. And I remember Bud had a lot to do with the Arizona Drag Racing Association way back when. It's still going on.
Yep.
Association's still going on. That I really wish that they had a better track of all the people that
Sure.
were a part of that, because it really was a good organization. Still is.
Solid. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And but those were the founders were back then.
Right.
And something maybe we can put together some kind of biography for them somehow. But
Yeah.
so you found you had a 292 you like to beat up and wound, and they helped you out with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
When you decided to go something a little bit more stable than the high winding 292.
Well, and again, I don't know what years or how it all transformed, but I ended up getting a '66 Chevy 2, and originally had a 355, pretty high dollar motor in it that Bud Janser had built for me, Bud and Kathy, and which were also great people too that helped me along the way. And I had Robert Neris. He front half the whole front of my car, and the back half of the car. That's when the car really started running pretty good, and I went, at one point in time, I never could get super gas going. We originally started the super gas, and I was running a half a second slower than everybody else, but I always run it just to support it. So I made the decision to go to the big block at that time, and I think it was a 427 that, again, Bud built for me. Put it in there, and that's when the car really started running. I could actually run like a 950 or a 960.
That's when it became a big iraq.
That's correct, yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. And those motors transformed into a 565, one of those things. But that's when I really probably had the most fun in it, you know, and that's kind of when the car was never really consistent. You know, I never could get it real consistent. And somewhere along the line, I met Tom, you know, through Bud and whatnot, and Tom and me became really close friends. And he went to Denver with me in a race, and I was talking to him about, I couldn't get my 60 foot might, you know, it might be a tenth off, you know, between passes. In super gas, you can't do that.
No consistency.
No consistency at all. And we found out what the problem was, and we brought it home, and he fixed the problem, and the thing was deadly after that.
So everybody hated him for that.
Yeah.
Because then you really were a killer.
Yeah, well, that's before Tom was really known and
Right.
whatnot, but he's always been a genius. I mean,
Nice.
you know, as everybody knows, he's probably, in my book, he's probably the best chassis builder there is. And, you know, it just is. So, and we remained good friends. And in I think it was 90 somewhere there, we partnered up. We were partners for 2 or 3 years there, and we won the California Nationals up in California, and we won several races along the
What
way.
was that like?
It was the best feeling in the world, you know, it just was. And we had it was that first national event. I'd won like 6 Arizona Pro Gas Association championships, and that's great, because this stuff, there's some, even back then, there was a lot of, starting from like early 80s, you know, I won like between 82 and 2000, I won like 6 championships there, and some of the people, and I think a lot of you people can testify that how hard, you can too, Chris, how hard it is to win these races. There's so many good people out there.
Do you feel that those people, even though you're the champion, racing those people made you better?
Absolutely, absolutely. People, Brian Downing, Dave Van Gordon, Jim Galvin, you know, I remember one year brings up, we won the championship and somebody had spent all the money on T-shirts, and we ended up splitting T-shirts for the championship. But we still got the trophy, and that's, if we were in this thing for the money, we wouldn't be doing it, you know.
And a lot of T-shirts and
we had a lot of
teacher shop rags and all that.
Yeah, I still got a bunch of them too.
I think you saw them, put them on eBay, it's almost collectible stuff.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I know it's pretty dear to my heart, so, you know, so. But, yeah, and then, going back, way back to the old Tucson track, you know, they have ADRA, you know, I gotta tell you, I was runner-up in Pro Gas back then, and this had to be early 80s maybe, 70s, something like that. And I raced Ed DeStout in the final of this race, okay? Because Ed was following that association at that time. And in Pro Gas, you guys that's done any heads-up racing, you know that the first thing you do is you let that button go and you look over to see if you get an idea where you're at, and then you know, go down the racetrack, even back then. And I knew that I'd taken the light, and it was very, very close. I get back, I get a win ticket. It shows that I go 970, and Ed goes 1010 dead on. Bottom line, I was runner-up, no matter what I did. And today, you know,
Sure.
say what, you know, but Ed's a great guy. I've known Ed a lot of years, so he admitted, yeah, you won.
One of the fun things is when you do win.
Yeah.
The first time it happened, you know, we had experiences in Bakersfield, is when you go through the rounds, every time you come back to the pits, but it used to be a real crowded pit area. You saw all these spaces, instead of driving up and down the aisles, you drive right to your trailer now.
That's absolutely correct.
You know, it's kind of like cool, but on the other hand, it's where these guys are not watching me.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, the winning the California Nationals and you got a lot of great successes. You've been married. How long you been married?
My wife passed away a year ago in July.
I'm so sorry.
That's not a problem. We were married 58 years ago.
How did you meet her?
That's a good question.
Well, she must have been 8 or 9 or something.
Let me just say this, we were very young.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, when we got married. Through a friend of mine.
Just kind of came into your life.
Yeah, came into my life, and I knew, yep, she's the one, so she was with me for a long time, so.
How many kids did you have?
We had 3 boys, Donald being my oldest, Bobby being the middle, and Walter being my youngest, yeah. And Bobby and Donald they were the 2 kids that, at 8 and 9 or however they were out in the garage with me pulling the motor out they knew what they had to do.
And loving it.
And loving it,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, we had a great time.
Grandkids?
I have 2 grandkids. I have a granddaughter that's 22 that lives here in town. I see her, and I've got a older grandson that's about 30 years old that I just don't see very often. He just didn't turn out very good, so. But it is.
Took a different path.
That's right, took a different path, so.
What's your favorite thing about drag racing?
Camaraderie. I've met so many great people all over the country. You may or may not know this, Chris, but in '93 or so, I kind of partnered up with Jim Hughes and the Hughes gang there,
Mm-hmm.
the crew, and I got to go a lot of places that I wasn't able to go before. I met a lot of people, and ended up winning the '94 Winter Nationals in Pomona with them, and I won a division race in '90. I can't remember what year it was in Vegas, and then I won the championship, the Division 7 Super Gas Championship in 2002. And between Tom Yancer and all the Hughes, Kevin Kleinweber,
Another great guy.
Mark and Mike Beckberger.
The Beckbergers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you jack your car up, they're underneath the help, that's why I love drag racing so much. People, they're the first people out there to help you, like, I think like you've heard other people say that, if you need something, they're right there to help you. If you need something or somebody else needs something, if you're out, you hand it to them. That's the greatest thing about drag racing, so, at the sportsman level. I don't know about anything, because I've never won any place else but sportsman.
Well, to an extent, I know that on the pro level, the big teams tend to help the single guys out,
Sure.
the part-time racers out with bits and pieces of information, and they're very good because they know that it's survival of the sport.
Right.
But the fact is that I believe that in sportsman drag racing is that people did that for people because they would hope that somebody would do it for them if they're in the same situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about what happens on the track. You know that you and Galton, best friends.
Yep.
But when you're on the track, I'm going to kill that guy. I'm going to knock him down.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a little quick story about
Please.
Jim? We were in Winslow drag racing, okay? We used to race in Winslow years and years ago.
And I don't remember even what class, if it was a bracket class, what we were doing, but Jim and Bud and me would always go up there and race in Winslow. So there was an older gentleman up there, I don't know if you know Johnny Johnson, it was his dad, I believe, you raced a roadster up there. They were from up in that area.
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, Jim and him raced, and Jim beat him. And he protested. Jim said, nobody can come up on me as fast as that car did. He has to have nitrous on that car. Of course, they tore apart the car. Of course, Jim didn't have nitrous anyplace. The funny part is I had a nitrous bottle in my car that I never could get to work anyway, and I was pitted right next to him.
But you didn't meet him.
Yeah. Oh, me and Jim, that was a standing joke that we had between us,
That was Winslow Drag was a lot of fun. We didn't race up there often. The one year with my first dragster, we went up there and there was a 3-day event. We run up the first day, won the second day, and I said, let's go to. We went to Oak Creek for the third day. We had no fun.
Yeah, Ronnie Miller was one of the best guys in the world.
Absolutely, what a great another guy we missed big time.
Yeah.
He did a lot for drag racing, not only in Arizona but in the Southwest.
Right.
And just a genuinely good guy. I mean, we've gone way too soon.
That's kind of where I met Ed you know who I'm talking about, Ed Johnson, Punch Johnson? That's where I met him, and originally, we go back that many years, and for those who don't know, Punch is having a tough time right now.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so keep him in your prayers.
Absolutely, absolutely. The you know, a lot of great memories. Done a lot. What did you do? You know, you did electrical work. Was it construction electrical or?
Yeah, commercial electric, basically, yeah. We did a lot of patient dialysis centers, a lot of medical, a lot of office buildings. We did some, when I was in Payson, we did a lot of residential, like multi-unit apartments and things like that. But yeah, we did a lot of work.
So you're the only guy in drag racing that had his car wired with Romex and conduit and junction boxes, right?
If you only knew. Yeah, I think it was in Seattle at the racetrack up there, and at McCarl tore apart because I was having electrical wiring problems. And, you know, as you probably or may not know, that electricians aren't the best in, you know, wiring, you know, when it comes to car wiring. And I got wires strung out everything everywhere trying to figure it out.
I was kind of hoping you'd say that because I've seen that.
Yeah. I can't remember what the guy's name. We became very good friends, but anyway, he came over and started. You say you're an electrician? You know, so he jumped right in. Again, people like Ken Most, I don't know if you know Kenny or not, Mostovich, I met with up there, but he's from Canada, but all those guys just jumped in to help, you know, and I didn't know these guys from Adam, you know, and they just jumped in to help, you know, but that's the kind of camaraderie you get, no matter where you go.
So they helped you out. You found out you had 3 pounds of wiring you didn't need.
Yes, exactly. There's a lot of truth there to be said about that, yeah.
We've only built, you know, I've only built one dragster.
Yeah.
Purpose built, and everything with all the cars I've had, I bought.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people's interpretation of wiring should be.
Oh man,
You know,
I'm telling you.
You know, it's usually overdone, and but this is why we don't know where it goes. Well,
Yeah.
you know, it's like they didn't need anymore, but they never cut it out of the car.
For sure.
Yeah, it's like clip, there you go.
I'm the poster child right there. You can take a picture of mine, you'll see it.
So it sounds like you've had a great time racing.
I've had an excellent time.
In my memories of you racing is always a smile on your face.
Yep.
I'm sure that we all have moments when we get frustrated, but
Oh, yeah.
once again, you know, I think our worst day of drag racing is somebody's best day ever.
Absolutely.
You know, we've been very blessed to have the sport with the camaraderie and
Yep.
all the good people involved around it. I got one important question to ask you. So your Wally, your first one,
Mhm.
did you sleep with it that night?
I used to.
You wouldn't let it go?
Yeah, oh, I'm telling you. So people, how do I explain this? With being Tom won that first up in California, I'm telling you, Hughes was there too, Jim Hughes. He had goosebumps up and down his arm and stuff. You know, he was as happy for us as he was for himself.
Sure.
And we really, there's backstories that and everything else, but we just had it. It was a great time up there. And yeah, it's one of the best. And I highly recommend it to anybody. You know what I mean? If they're so hard. You know, back then they were hard. And nowadays they got to be tougher because there's so many killers out there.
You know, all the electronics on top of it, and it's
Yeah.
like, you know, the things that they control with electronics is just you know, dumb luck. You know.
And Chris, you know as well as yourself, it's about who you surround yourself
Right.
with. I've been surrounded by some pretty special people, you know.
Yeah. Just always try to surround myself with smarter people than me.
Yeah.
You know, they save me a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah. I gotta mention Craig Eaton, you know, another
Yeah.
fantastic person, helped me when I blew the motor. I was going for the championship. I blew the motor up in Sonoma, and Bud wasn't able to get it together in time for me because he was so busy at the time. So Craig offered up, and you know, he built me a motor, and I had a motor within a month to go back up to Medford, Oregon, and I ended up winning it. And you know Dave Copestick? You know who Dave
I know who he
Copestick
is, yeah.
Okay, when we were up there and I broke the motor, he lent the motor out of his car, and I can't remember who his partner was that he was driving for. But anyway, we took his motor and put it in my car so I could make the next round because I won that round when I broke the motor. And fortunately, I lost the next round
Right.
because we dialed for the same power that I had, and that motor didn't make as much power as what I had. So
We've the same experience. We were racing Winter Nationals one year, and I don't think Jim White was my driver, but I don't think he made that race. I think Joe Faulkner was driving for me there, and I hurt the motor, and I become, my mentor that helped me a lot was Bill Moropoulos.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, number one in his car. I asked him a question one time. He says, "I'll tell you all the answers, but I don't want you going up down the pits asking everybody else's questions."
Yeah.
I go, "Your car says number one on it."
Yeah.
You know, I think you know.
You're
and
sounding yourself
He
free.
told me everything.
Yeah.
And broke the motor. Goes, "Go get my spare engine out of my trailer."
Wow.
I go, "What if I break it?" "Well, you'll pay for it."
Yeah.
I go, "Well, you know, I know I never saw him break anything."
Yeah.
And it, you know, and we were able to qualify and run, but we, you know, different engine, different, you know,
Different
every
combination.
chassis is a little different the way their engine's set up.
Yeah.
But the fact that,
Somebody like Bill Moropoulos would
yeah,
do that.
go get, you know, loan us an engine.
That just shows us what
Yeah,
this
I got
sport's
goosebumps now thinking about
Yeah,
that because I know how you felt about it.
Yep.
And you know, that's what we came from, and it's, you know, that's why I love the drag racing
Yep.
and the people so much.
I was offered people's car to drive, you know, back then, because they're rooting for you, you know what I mean? That's what's important about that. You root for your opponent, you know? He might have kicked your butt the round before, but the next round you're rooting for him, you know?
Mhm.
So that's the important part about drag
Well, I always told I want the guy that beat me. I want him to win.
Yeah, that's
You
why.
know, yeah, I don't want the guy that beat me to go out the next round. I want a lost for a good reason. You know?
Absolutely.
I want to contribute to the winner.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm part of his win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I
Well,
agree with that.
So, you know, Bob, it's been great seeing you. It's been quite a few years since we've had a chance to talk. You're looking good. I like your smile.
You don't have to lie about that, Chris. It's okay.
Okay, well, I don't have my glasses on, so no, let's just put it at that.
Yeah, there you go.
You've done a great job, and we really appreciate you being here. And yeah, absolutely an Arizona drag racing legend. Thanks for sharing your story.
Well, I appreciate you having us, Chris, and you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.